I'm famous in some circles for telling almost true stories. Today I'm going to tell you a story that is completely true. It happened just yesterday, and I'm warning you. If this happened to me, it could also happen to you. Be prepared. My wife, E.B., was out of town with some family and friends. I found myself home alone, so I decided I would go take a walk. I learned long ago that praying, thinking, and walking go together very well. So it sounded like a good idea. But living far out in the country, as we do, means that if you want to go for a walk, you have to take a ride somewhere first. As I was getting in my car, I thought about the mission packets EB and I keep in our cars. A mission packet is a simple Ziploc bag filled with lots of goodies. EB usually puts things like juice, crackers, canned food, gum, sugar-free candy, hygiene things, and of course some Christian literature. No two mission packets are ever identical, and she prays over them before putting them in our cars. We have these packets in our cars because we often come to an intersection where a homeless person has a sign asking for food. Most people want to help, but they're reluctant to give money, and they are not prepared to do anything else. So they look away, and the homeless person becomes invisible. The trouble with mission packets is they can get lost in your car. If you are alone in your car and can't reach it when you need it, you do what everyone else does. You look in the other direction. Anyway, yesterday morning, that small voice inside of me spoke as I was getting in my car. Do you know where your mission packet is? I could hear in my soul, and I did know. It was somewhere in my back seat. The problem is, I didn't know where somewhere was. Then I heard that still small voice again. If you encounter somebody while you're going for your walk and you're alone in the car, how are you going to reach that bag? So I looked for it. Sure enough, it was in the back. I found it in a basket on the floor directly behind the driver's seat. I wouldn't have been able to find it and retrieve it quickly if I needed it. So I picked it up and put it on the passenger seat next to me. And I drove into town to go for my walk. Since it was already hot outside, I decided I would walk indoors. EB and I like to visit the big box stores when we walk indoors. It's almost always cool inside. We get to see people, and we can do some window shopping too. As I drove into the Walmart parking lot, I saw him, far away from the front door as if he did not want to bother anyone. I saw a man sitting on a curb. He was obviously homeless. His backpack was on the ground between his feet. His head was hung over like he was asleep, and I was pretty sure he was already drunk, even though it was still in the morning. And then I heard that still small voice in my soul. Grab your mission packet. Go talk to that man. I heard in the deep in my soul. And so I did. You look like you're having a rough day today, brother, I said to him. He lifted his head and looked up at me. A big, mostly toothless smile greeted me. This man was definitely not drunk, though he was tired, hot, and sunburned. Yes, sir, he replied. I am. It's a bad day for me. I told him my name and asked him for his. He said his name was Don. I told Don I had something for him. He saw the bag in my hand. His eyes inspected it carefully. I handed it to Don and said, "Take it. There are a lot of good things in it. You're going to like some of them." I didn't tell Don that EB had packed it. God knew that, and I knew it too. Don said with some noticeable enthusiasm, "I love everything in this bag." I asked him to tell me what was going on. He said he was just really sad. It was the anniversary of his mother's death. She had died back in 2008. Until a few years ago, Don had been high on drugs or drunk every year on this anniversary. 4 years ago, he had decided that he would not remember the anniversary of her death. High on drugs or drunk again. Never. And he was very sober that morning. The two of us remained under the shade of the tree for a few more minutes, as friends making small talk about life. Before I left, we prayed together, and then I went into the Walmart for my walk. Yes, if I could encounter a homeless man on the street and share a little time with him as brothers in Christ, you can probably do that too. If you have been blessed by God, He wants you to bless others with the overflow of what He has given you. Jesus left us with two simple commands: love God and love your neighbor. You don't have to own their problems, and surely you will not fix those problems for them. Jesus didn't command us to do either of those two things. Just be a friend. Love someone who is not so lovable, even if it's just for a few minutes. Most of us who love God really do want to love our neighbors, but sometimes it can be hard. You can do it if you are prepared, and if you're not prepared, those people will just become invisible to you and everyone else except God. Oh yeah, here's the part I didn't tell you. While I was blessing Don with a little love, God was blessing me with a lot of love. I did a lot of other cool things yesterday. Some of those things I've already forgotten about. But the coolest thing yesterday was the time I spent with Don under a tree in the Walmart parking lot. That's our story, and we're sticking to it.